Hello YouTube fans, welcome back to the AJ Speed Shop YouTube channel. Today I'm bringing you the third installment of my vehicle showcase series. And today's vehicle is my own personal 1971 Corvette that I've owned for 17 years. It's been sort of a rolling restoration project through most of that time before I finally completed the body restoration in 2018. So let me get right into the story. So this particular car began life as a 350 270 horse automatic base model 71 Corvette, and upon receiving the car back in 2006, I left the car stock and just fixed as needed, drove and enjoyed the car. But I got to the point that I knew what I wanted to build. I had been inspired to build a C3 Corvette to street race and drag race, as well as drive and cruise and enjoy from an early part of my youth. When I was 16, I went and watched a street race in which the particular character had a very badass C3 Corvette that dead hooked on the street, and he made a bunch of money with the car. So I was inspired by how well these cars worked, and I knew I wanted to build one. Well, following along with the Fast Series racing classes up in the Northeast area, there was a fellow back in 2005 named Wayne Nelson that had built a 69 Corvette Le Mans Blue 427. I believe it was originally mirrored as an L88 car, and the car ran 1050s back in 2005 on factory tires. And from that point, I knew exactly what I wanted to build. I wanted something that had a somewhat stockish appearance, but ran well and was still very drivable. So I set out to build that project in 2009, and I contacted Mark Jones of the Vortec Pro Performance fame up in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Told him what I wanted to do, and he built me a 496 engine, and I went ahead and built the rear end, transmission, and set everything up in the car the way we initially thought we needed to do it. And originally the first 496 that we had done made 650 horsepower, 670 pounds of torque, and it ran high 1050s in the car back in about 2010. And so for the next 9 years, I ran that car, drove it cross country, did hot rod power tour, family vacations. I put almost 30,000 miles on that engine. Had hundreds of passes on it at the track. It always ran anywhere from high 1050s to high 1070s, depending on which wheels and tires I had on it. And it was just a great car, and it was a lot of fun. And then finally, in 2018, I decided to paint the car, and at that point I decided to go ahead and pull the engine out and do a refresh on it. So we pulled the engine out. I took it back to Mark Jones up in Colorado. He updated the heads, updated some stuff on the fueling, on the oiling system, changed the valve train around, and we gained about 40 horsepower. Currently it makes 698 horsepower on Mark's dyno up there. And got the car back together, refreshed the transmission, and I tried the same converter that I've always ran in the car, which is a very tight 10-inch converter and a turbo 400 trans. And the car has got a 336 geared. I run it on a 27-inch tire when I'm racing at the track, so it's very streetable. And but the converter was really too tight for the first combination, and this cam being a little larger, the converter is really tight for this one. So we ran the car, and it ran about the same ET. It ran high 1050s, but it gained about 2 miles an hour. Currently it runs 129 miles an hour and around positive 1,000 foot DA, and that's right at 3,700 pounds with the skinnies on it and me in it. So I made 3 passes like that. I knew it needed more converter. The car didn't leave that good. It only went like a 150, 160 foot. So I had ATI build me a custom 8-inch converter, and I put it in the car, and it did not like it. It picked up to 60 foot, but slowed down everywhere. We lost 5 miles an hour, lost like 3/10. I made 3 passes like that, and that was it. And so I pulled that converter back out, sent it back to ATI, put my old converter back in it, and that's how it's been for the last year. So I've only actually got 6 passes on this combination. It hasn't been in really good air yet. I haven't really got to test and tune things to see exactly what this combination will do, but I'm pretty sure it's got a high 1040 in it, mid 1040, even with this tight converter in good air. and the thing's very drivable, and it's just a lot of fun to be able to cruise with your buddies and still be able to go out and do some racing with it too. So let me show you some of the inside stuff, and then we'll get into the motor. Interior is basically stock appearing. I do have a digital tach in here and a fuel pressure gauge to keep tabs on stuff, but all the rest of the gauges are all factory, and everything does work. Even the factory clock still works. It does have a little stereo system in it, little sub, kick panel speakers, gotta have tunes. So here is the Mark Jones 496 cubic inch engine, and this engine, we refreshed it back in 2018, but it's still basically the same engine that we ran back in 2009. Actually still got the same pistons, rods, and crank in it. All we did basically was a ring and bearing job, and went through the valve train, changed a few things there, made some improvements to the oiling system, did a little bit more work on the heads, and it made 698 horsepower corrected, and I think it was 682 pounds of torque on Mark Jones dyno up in Colorado Springs. This engine is a 9.8 to 1 compression. It has 1973 model 049 oval port heads, 219 valves, and of course Mark Jones has worked these heads over probably about as much as they can be done. The intake is actually a box stock Edelbrock Performer RPM with a 1-inch open spacer, and it has no port work on it, so we did not cut the divider down or anything like that. And this thing made peak power at 6,300, and it still had not nosed over at the time that we dynoed it, so the intake definitely was not holding it back in regards to upper RPM power. Now we did something a little different, a little unconventional with the valve train this time around. It currently has an Isky 248 258 hydraulic roller cam with 615 lift on the intake and 607 lift on the exhaust, and it's on a 109 lobe separation, but we're actually running solid roller Morel lifters on this hydraulic roller cam, and this is called a low lash solid roller setup. And basically you run the intake valve lash down at 8 thousandths, and you run the exhaust valve lash down at 10 thousandths. So it makes for a very quiet valve train. It's very stable, it's mild. With the hydraulic roller lobes, it's real easy on parts. You don't have to run a ton of spring pressure. We only run around 220 pounds on the seat and about 550 pounds open. The thing will rev smooth to 7,000, and it just makes great power all around, and the valve train is considerably quieter than it ever was with the original Morel hydraulic roller lifters in it, which I found to be very noisy no matter how I set them up. Especially when cold, it would just clatter like mad, and I tried everything for years to get those lifters quiet. And this thing is very, very quiet, other than the typical solid roller sewing machine sound. Let's take a look here, and I'm fixing to get over here and fire this thing up. Let's take a listen. All right guys, I'm gonna fire this thing up for you. Let's take a listen to this sucker. For those that will be asking, the exhaust setup on this car is a Hedman 2-inch primary header to a 3-inch ball style flange collector. It's got 3-inch mandrel bent exhaust system through a Dr. Gas X pipe, and it's going into 3-inch hooker aero chamber mufflers. And we also have some modified stock tips that we ovaled out to 3-inch opening. The rear end in this car is the factory 10-bolt IRS. It is built with all the parts from Tom's differentials. It's still got the 10-bolt ring and pinion and posi unit, but it does have the 12-bolt spider gears, cross pin. The clutches are shimmed. There's no springs or anything like that in it. It's got the 30 spline inner axles, the 31 spline outer axles, and it's got the 3-inch half shafts with 1350 solid Spicer U-joints. See if I can get you a shot of some of this. Yeah. There's the fuel system. And this, all this rear end stuff has been very reliable. We put this stuff in back in 2009. It's probably got about 150 passes at the track on it, all in the 149 to 152 60-foot range, and it's never broke anything, knock on wood. So everything's held up really well. And as much as I would like to continue to upgrade the car and try to make more power with it, I've even thought about putting a nitrous kit on it. I just hate to mess with it because it's so reliable. And it's basically maintenance free other than oil changes and valve adjustments. It's just been a great car, and I really hate to go any further with it. Right now we can hop in it and drive it anywhere and don't worry about it. Throw the slicks on it, go to the track, run 1050s and drive it home. So I do have some videos further down in my channel. If you guys go look, I'll put some links here in the description. And I've got some track videos of it. I've got some street race videos of it in Mexico. Also have some draggy videos of it. And I think some of you old muscle car guys might find some of those interesting. They're a little ways down on my video page, so you might have to scroll down some, but I will put a couple links in the description here just for a quick reference for anybody that might be interested in seeing how this whole thing runs. So a few other things to mention on this car before we get ready to wrap up this video. It does have power steering and vintage air conditioning, and I have managed to do enough cooling modifications to keep this thing cool. I'm even in the middle of the summer when it's 95, 98 degrees, it'll just cycle between 185 and 188 degrees with the AC on indefinitely. So old Vettes with big blocks are notorious for running hot, but we've managed to get this one to stay cool after all these years. This is one of the key important things whenever you are trying to build a street car that you want to be able to drive anywhere. It's got to be able to maintain temperature, especially for doing hot rod power tours and stuff like that, where some of the venues you might wait an hour or so to get in or longer. And I did do the hot rod power tour in this thing in 2017, and we long hauled it. We did about 3,500 miles, and we had no issues with it, surprisingly, running 3,100 down the highway and no overdrive with the carburetor. We made it and had no issues. So believe it or not, you can drive these cars. A lot of people don't like to believe that, but they're completely drivable if you set them up right and stay on top of the maintenance. So in closing, if anyone is building a C3 or has questions in regards to anything about setting one up to drag race, street race, cruise around, make it a daily driver, I've got a good bit of experience with this one. I'm 17 years into this this project here, so leave me a comment. If you have any questions, put them down below. I try to respond to every comment that I get. Definitely don't hesitate. If you have comments about this particular car or questions about your own car or just anything Corvettes or car related in general, hit me up. I love to chat back and forth with everybody about cars. I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to wrap this up. Get ready to get it back home, get it back up in the garage. We got cruise night tonight. Try to enjoy this thing for the rest of the summer. If you made it this far through the video, thanks so much for watching, and please subscribe to the channel. So far I've noticed that about 97% of my views are from non-subscribers, so I'd really like to get some more subscribers. So you guys, please, if you're watching this and you like the content, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell so you'll know every time I release a new video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.